Hello and welcome into the NHL Daily Show. I am your host, Patrick, and today we are going to be talking about last night's games and tonight's games. This is kind of the format I think I'm going to be going with in the future. Just one upload, talk about last night, what's coming tonight, news around the league, stuff like that. I put together about 8 slides. I really don't know how long this video is going to be. But if you like this idea, like this channel, like my coverage, like what I'm saying, anything like that, hit the like button. If you want to watch my videos going forward, hit the subscribe button. Let's jump into it. Tonight we got 3 games on the slate. We got the Bruins going to Toronto, series tied 1-1. Tonight's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I personally kind of think that we might be looking at a split here going back to Boston. And then I think Game 5 might be the determining game in the series, to be honest. But a lot of hockey to be played before we can even go down that path of what may or may not happen. We have Vegas going into Dallas again, trying to come out of Dallas with 2 games won, which would be pretty impressive. Vegas is just one of those teams. They know how to play playoff hockey. They know how to grind out results. And you got to wonder, is Dallas just facing a very battle-tested team that knows how to win? And then you got the Kings, who are going to try to rectify that embarrassing Game 1 loss. Going to be a tough task in Edmonton, but we will see. Before we go and talk about the previews of those games, let's talk about last night. So, 4 games last night. You had the Rangers going up 2-0 in the series against the Capitals, won the game 4-3, tight one. The Avalanche outscored the Jets 5-2 in a fairly tight game. Interesting things to talk about on the goaltending side there. Florida beat the Lightning to go up 2-0 in that series. The Preds tied the series against Vancouver 1-1. So let's talk about the East Coast games first. And the first thing to talk about is the Rangers are up 2-0. Everyone kind of expected this, if we're being honest. The Capitals, though, last night they came out, had a very good first 10 minutes to the game. The Rangers responded. Few power plays. Things started to go the Rangers' way. They're up 4-2 late in the game. They get 2 power plays to try to close it out. The Rangers do not score on either of the power plays in the third period. The Capitals get a power play. They pot one, and then it's a 1-goal game. And the Rangers had to sweat this out. At the end of the day, a win's a win. But some questionable defending at the end of the game by the Rangers. But the Rangers grit it out, get the win, go up 2-0 in the series, and now they're going to go to Washington. They're going to, hopefully, for their sake, win both of them. But if you can come out of Washington 1 apiece and get the opportunity to close down in Game 5, the Rangers would be happy with that. That being said, it kind of feels like the Washington Capitals are done. It doesn't really feel like there's going to be much going in favor of Washington. It just seems like when they have good runs, the Rangers eventually pick it up, and they're just more talented. I think that really is what it just comes down to, is more people on the Rangers can score than the Capitals. The Capitals can play a good game of hockey. Last night, they played a decent game of hockey, but when it comes down to it, the Rangers have the playmakers and the scorers to score. The Capitals do not. And that's just kind of is what it is. Also, one thing that was interesting was you basically, at the end of the game, you see Shesterkin, throwing the puck out. He has gassed defenders on the ice, and he's throwing it out to keep it in play so they can clear it. But at the same time, he is putting his defenders in some precarious positions where, they're gassed, and the Washington's putting on the pressure. Washington could have scored a goal to tie that game 4-4, and I would have put a little bit of that on Shesterkin. So, some interesting things, but that's kind of the benefit the Rangers have about having the easiest first-round matchup. You get to kind of, work on a few small things here and there, how to close out games, because the Rangers are probably going to be leading late in most of these games, and getting that experience of closing out games and winning them is going to create that confidence. So even though it was a shaky end to the game for the Rangers, it's going to build confidence closing out games, and it's going to build and build and build. And I think the Rangers are fortunate to have won the President's Trophy and to have gotten this matchup. As a Bruins fan, I wish we had been a little better at the end of the season, so we would be facing the Capitals and not the Toronto Maple Leafs. You then look at the other side of things. You got the Lightning and Panthers, which this one I'm not sure we all expected to be 2-0. I mentioned in my video yesterday that I thought the Panthers were going to win this game in a tight one and go up 2-0. But a lot of people were big on the Lightning at least tying the series 1-1 last night. But you had 2 goaltenders who were showing out. If you missed this, that's unfortunate, because Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky both played fantastic. At the end of the day, though, it went to overtime, and Carter Verhaeghe potted the overtime goal pretty quick into overtime, and he became tied for third most goals in postseason history in the NHL with 5, tying Glenn Anderson, Patrick Kane, and Corey Perry, only trailing Maurice Richard and Joe Sakic. One more goal, and Carter Verhaeghe is in the top 3. I know he's tied for 3 right now, but he'd be just alone in that third spot or tied in the second spot with only one other person above him. That would be pretty cool for Carter Verhaeghe, a very good depth player who's really found a scoring touch the last few years, potting over 30 goals this year. And Florida looks like the team in the East. And I know like the Carolina Hurricanes also kind of look at that team, and the Rangers also kind of look at that team. But my money right now, if you watch my video the other day, you'll know I'm pretty big on Florida coming through in this series, winning it, and I think they could potentially go back to the Cup final. Winning it, I don't know, but I feel like Florida has a good shot to do that. You look here, tweet by George Richards. Florida Panthers coach Paul Maurice said Sam Bennett, better than they initially thought, out perhaps a week. So I believe that is a hand injury. Yeah, it's a hand injury. So it should be interesting to see how Florida reacts to that. But at the end of the day, I think they're kind of a good collective unit who will put someone in the lineup, and you won't really notice Sam Bennett being missed. That being said, the Lightning at home are a different animal than on the road. Lightning power play is still very good, and it makes you wonder maybe this is going to be a homer series. The Lightning are hoping it is. Otherwise, they're going to be in trouble, to say the least. Quote from Steven Stamkos here: "You've just got to win the next game, take care of one game at a time, in the swings of momentum and ebbs and flows of a series. Obviously, it's a big hole, but we've done it before. We've just got to win the next game." Now, what they're referring to, I'm pretty sure it was 2 or 3 years ago, when they went to the Cup final. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they went down 2-0 in the series, and they won that series. So this team has come back from this deficit before the 0-2 hole. But the question is, can this Lightning team do it against this Panthers team? I wouldn't bet on it, but at the end of the day, the Lightning have proved a lot of people wrong throughout the years, so we're not going to count them out completely, but things are heavily leaning Rangers and Lightning in the East in these two series. We then move on to the Western Conference games last night, and we got 2 interesting series here. Both get tied 1-1. Unlike the series in the East, these guys both tie up their series. The Avalanche respond, score 5 on Hellebuck, tie the series 1-1. The Predators play their style of game. Look at that. Both teams under 20 shots. Predators win 4-1. Now, there's really 2 big things to talk about here. And that is, in the Avalanche and Jets series, you're starting to see the Avalanche play their game, and you're starting to see the Jets kind of falter. And I was kind of big on the Jets going into the series, and this is kind of the ebbs and flow, as Steven Stamkos would say, of the series. I'm not sure if I'm as confident in the Jets anymore. I was kind of skeptical on Colorado's goaltending, but if you watch Connor Hellebuck last night, maybe we should be a little skeptical on the Jets goaltender. Really bad play by Connor Hellebuck to play the puck. Puck goes in his own net. Josh Manson on the breakaway. I know it's a breakaway, but kind of want to save there. I felt like if Connor Hellebuck played a little bit better last night, the Jets would have had a better chance to win. That being said, he's one of the best goaltenders in the world, and he probably will rebound and steal a game in Colorado. Both these series feel like they're going to go at least 6 games, most likely 7. And you look at the shots there. In the game before this, Colorado outshot Winnipeg by about like 15. But Winnipeg just scored on like every shot, it seemed like. And it kind of makes you think, like, if Colorado's going to score 5 goals a game and what you're known for is goaltending and, you know, your depth scoring, you're not going to win the series if you're giving up 5 goals a game. So the Winnipeg Jets have to figure something out there. And I included this Avalanche Forever tweet, which I think is a fan page. But regardless, series momentum has shifted heading back to Denver, where Nathan McKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche have been almost unbeatable this season. Hellebuck's back-to-back sub-872 performance at home should be a major concern for Winnipeg. It isn't going to get any easier. It's very true. Winnipeg Jets fans may roll their eyes at this and just say it was a bad night last night for Hellebuck. It was a bad night in Game 1, too, if we're being honest, for the team in general, but they're scoring. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen going forward in the series, but I'm starting to lean Avs more so than I was before last night. And, you know, there's some yellow flags with the Jets and how they're playing right now. On the other side of the spectrum, we were talking yesterday about the Thatcher Demko injury and how much effect that may have. Now, we can look at this and say Casey DeSmith let in 3 goals on 15 shots, which isn't good. On the other hand, I would say 18 shots for the Canucks. That's not good. This was just kind of a letdown if you're a Canucks fan, if you're being real with yourself. 4 goals for the Predators. They went up early. Ryan O'Reilly really, with a good defensive play on one to create a goal for, I want to say, I don't have it up right now actually, but Ryan O'Reilly created the goal. Who was it for? Excuse me just for a sec. He didn't get an assist on it. I believe it was Philip Forsberg. Yep, he's Goose Nyquist got it behind the net, created it. That was kind of the backbreaker, I felt, when Nashville went up 2-0. It kind of deflated the building. And one thing to really say in this situation is winning Game 2 after winning Game 1 at home is hard. We saw the Jets win Game 1, followed up with a Game 2 loss. We saw the Canucks win Game 1, followed up with a Game 2 loss at home. We saw the Bruins win Game 1, followed up with a Game 2 loss. This is just how it goes in the NHL. It is a tough league to win 2 games in a row in. It doesn't mean these teams are going to collapse, but it does mean that you're not really going to walk over the other team like maybe the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers might, to say the least. These are going to be long, hard series. And that's what you like as a neutral fan, as a Jets fan, and as a Canucks fan. Tough night for the Western Conference Canadian teams because reality just set in. They are not going to have an easy time. And that's really just where we're at with those 4 games from last night. So let's hop into previewing tonight's games. We got 3 on the board. We're going to start with the Bruins and the Maple Leafs, which, if you watch the first 2 games at 5-on-5, it feels like the Leafs have been the better team. The Bruins have been very good on the power play, as you can see in the bottom right here, 42.9% on the power play. The Leafs' special teams has been terrible, to say the least. And it makes you wonder if the games get a little tighter going forward in the series, if you're going to see the Leafs start to kind of have their way when the whistles go away like they usually do. That being said, this Leafs team takes a lot of stupid penalties. So if you're doing obvious things, even though you're going to get to the whistles being put away, if you're doing dumb penalties, they're still going to get called late in the series. It's the non-dumb penalties that are kind of subtle that go away completely. But if you're out there like cross-checking someone in the face, tripping someone blatantly, like a lot of the stuff they do after the whistle, it could lead to the Leafs getting some stupid penalties and this still being a factor. But it is kind of concerning. I say that as a Bruins fan. Like, I've watched the first 2 games and, they went up 1-0 in Game 2. I was at Game 2, actually. Leafs scored, what was it, like 12 seconds later? That's not good. They scored their second goal, the Bruins. The Leafs get power play, it goes to intermission, the Leafs start, and then I believe it was Tavares who scored to tie it up 2-2. And then you go to the third period, tight game, a very good pass from Max Domi to Austin Matthews, who it's kind of like, almost like an NFL pass where you just throw it over the top of the defender and the guy goes and gets it. Beautiful finish by Matthews on Ullmark. And the real interesting thing here for me is, you go back to Swayman for Game 3. I think everyone's kind of assuming that at this point. It would be very shocking if they didn't. And if Swayman wins Game 3, I don't think you go back to Ullmark. I think it would be a major mistake to go back to Ullmark. And it's not even like Ullmark played bad in Game 2. It's just Jeremy Swayman will at that point be, I want to say, 5-0 versus the Leafs on the year. It's either 4-0, 5-0, or 6-0, but he's undefeated against the Leafs right now. He's going to get an opportunity to extend that, or the Leafs will get the opportunity to break that streak tonight. And I'm going to be honest, I just think Jeremy Swayman is a big game player. I think he's a player who shows up for these moments. I think he lives for them. I think Linus Ullmark is just slightly more shaky. I think Linus Ullmark on John Tavares' goal the other night in Game 2, I think that was a savable shot. Good shot on John Tavares, put it on net, all great. But at the same time, I thought Linus Ullmark had a chance to save that and didn't. On the breakaway by Austin Matthews, he got absolutely dusted. Austin Matthews sent him to the other side of the net and finished. I think Swayman does better in moments like that where you're kind of in high-stress situations. I think Ullmark is great and does well with like regular season games, but I kind of have my questions about him in the playoffs, to say the least. I feel more comfortable as a fan with Jeremy Swayman in net, and I hope to see him in Game 3, hope he plays well, and hope to see him in Game 4 and going forward in the series. That being said, a few notes on this series just from an injury aspect. Andrew Peeke is out for what seems like about the rest of the series. It's week to week. There's a good chance because Andrew Peeke is kind of a third pair guy that they're going to go with someone healthier. It looks like Mason Lohrei and Parker Wotherspoon are going to slide into the lineup. Looks like Peak is out and Grizzlick are coming out. And then on the other side, you have Jakob Lacko coming out, and they're putting in James Van Riemsdyk. Now, I'm fine with Mason Lohrei going in, to be honest. He's a very dynamic player for his size. The issue is he's a young player who has not played in the NHL in about a month, I want to say. It's been a little bit, to say the least. But he's a good player. It's just mistakes. He is someone who is going to probably have a mistake or two tonight. And the question is, will that mistake be bailed out? They're putting him on the first pair with Charlie McAvoy as well, it looks like. So he's going to be playing some big minutes. And I think Mason Lohrei is a player for the future. Not sure if that's today, though, that you really want to see him out there. That being said, the injuries to Forbert, with Grizzlick not playing up to snuff, with Andrew Peak now injured, Lohrei has to go in. He's the guy. The question is, where do you put him? I don't think you mess up Lindholm and Carlo. I kind of like that pairing. And then on the third pair, I think you just kind of leave it. I think Mason Lohrei slots in the best on this top pair of McAvoy. McAvoy can shelter him a little too. McAvoy's extremely good defensively, despite not the best game too. But that being said, I like Lohrei as a player. I'm just a little concerned tonight about what's going to happen in that aspect of, is Lohrei going to make mistakes, or is Lohrei going to play safe with the puck? I hope he plays pretty conservative. He can make things happen, which, there's a lot of upside with this player, so he can make something happen for or against you. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. A little concerned as a Bruins fan, but at the end of the day, I have a good feeling that this one's going to go back to the Garden in Game 5, tied 2-2. That being said, the Leafs may just exercise their demons and go up 3-1. But that being said, there's a lot of hockey to be played up until that point. On the other side of the spectrum, William Nylander's chances of playing tonight depends on how he responds to extra work this morning. So that will be determined. He'd be a big get for them in the lineup. Big driver of play, a very good playoff performer. So that's a big factor as well. We'll see what happens. Bruins and Leafs, -112 for the Leafs, -108 for the Bruins. So it's basically a pick 'em. And this is a very interesting game. It's a lone game on in the early window, so everyone's eyes are going to be on this and watching it, and it should be a fun game to say the least. We then go to the Knights and Stars, and the Knights in Game 1, they did their thing. They grinded out a win in the playoffs, which is what they do. As you can see, I put the shot total from Game 1, 29 to Dallas, 15 for Vegas, 2 for 2 on the power play for Vegas, 0 for 2 for the power play in Dallas, and that's kind of what you're looking at here. You're looking at a team that can get it done in the playoffs versus another team that has gone and done in the playoffs but has not gone to that level in Dallas. Now, as you can see, Dallas is a big favorite tonight. Or not big, but a good favorite tonight, -162 type the series. And if you kind of look at how Game 1 went, you shouldn't be too surprised by that. These teams are most likely going to split when you look at it. 1-1 is probably what most people expect in going back to Vegas for Game 3. But Dallas controlled Game 1. It's just Vegas popped up, scored when they had to. Mark Stone with a big goal to start the game off. And there's not really much else to say about this game except for this series is going how we expect it. March or so after the game, business as usual. No one here is too excited. We're happy we won Game 1, but we know that doesn't mean anything. And that's a guy who's been there and done that saying it. Like, that is something like, you win Game 1, you should be happy. He's just like, it means nothing. Because he's been in so many series with Vegas and that he knows that, one game, it's good to get that lead, but you're not really in the driver's seat until you're up 2-3 games in a series or you're closing it out. It's not over until it's over, and that's the mentality you want to hear out of your players if you're a Vegas fan. Nick Hague is considered day-to-day with a lower body injury. Sounds like he might not play tonight. Logan Thompson, again, starting Game 2. Had an okay Game 1. So that should be interesting. I think really what you're hoping for in Game 2, if you're a Stars fan, is for Jake Ottinger to play like past playoff Jake Ottinger. Not the best showing in Game 1 out of Ottinger. You would hope to see a bounce back. If I'm a Stars fan, I'm feeling good that we can win tonight. That being said, playoff stress, you never really feel good about winning until you've won. So big game out of Ottinger tonight, I kind of think that Dallas is going to tie the series 1-1. Send it back to Vegas, and this is a heavyweight tilt. If you're on the East Coast, 9:40 start time, I think it's worth being sleep deprived. Watch this series. We then move on to the last game of the night, and that will be the Kings and the Oilers, 10 p.m. or 10:10 p.m. start time if you're on the East Coast. And there's really Not a ton in terms of off ice things to say. No real injuries to real talk about. But no lineup changes tonight for Edmonton. Why would they as well? They won 7-4 in game one. Outshot LA 45-37, and that's an indicator right there. That is not an LA Kings favorable stat line. Like, don't even look at the score. If you're letting up 45 shots to the Oilers, you're losing. You're losing. They're too talented. They're going to finish their chances, and you are not going to win that game. As you can see, 3 for 4 on the power play for the Oilers, 0 for 2 for the Kings. Drew Doughty said it may have been the worst he has seen in this team defend the rush. Will be addressed. Got to move on quickly. Wait, it's basically just one of those things. Can you stop a freight train? Can the LA Kings stop this? I don't think they can. If I'm a bettor, I'm betting the -1.5 on the Oilers, and I'm just going to sit there and watch the game. I think the Oilers have a good chance to win this one in less than 6. That being said, it also would not shock me to see the Kings tighten up their defense and get it done in game 2, because in the last few years, we've seen the Oilers pop off. We've seen the Oilers run up the score versus the Kings, and we've seen the Kings respond with good games. So, on the other hand, while I'm betting confidently in the Oilers, I'm also acknowledging that the Kings can play up to the Oilers, or I should say drag them down and play their style of game. It has happened in the past. That being said, I feel like McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be men on a mission this year, and I could see the Oilers having a deep run. And if I'm an Oilers fan, I'd feel a lot more confident in my team having a deep run if they were to close out the Kings quicker than they have in the previous years. Because if you go 6-7 with the Kings, it's kind of an indicator that you have not made as much progress as you think you have. It means you're kind of at the same level you were last year, in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking for as a casual, not a casual, but a neutral observer of this game is, can the Oilers become dominant? Because I think if you beat the Kings in 6 or 7 games, you were still not dominant. You were very good, but you're not dominant, and I probably won't favor you to go to the Cup final if you're not beating the Kings in less than 6 games. Might not be fair of me to say that, but that's just where I'm at with the Oilers and Kings. So we'll go back and to the main screen here. Look at this. Go over a few picks here. You can see I probably would pick the in the Bruins game, Leafs game, I think that's pretty much a coin flip. I think games 3 and 4 are both going to be a coin flip. I don't think there's a ton to really separate those teams. I think the Leafs are a little better offensively. I would say the Bruins are better defensively and goaltending. What gives? We'll see. But I mean, flip a coin there. Vegas and Dallas. I think Dallas wins tonight. I think they tie that series up 1-1, send it back to Vegas. Now the other late game in the West, LA Kings at Edmonton. I expect Edmonton to go up 2-0 tonight in the series. If I had to do a final score prediction for each game, I'm going to go 3-2 Bruins. I'm going to go 4-2 Stars, and then I'm going to go a little bold here, but I'm going to go 6-2 Edmonton. I'm going to say Edmonton runs them again. I think Edmonton's going to take that next step and be that dominant team. But those are my thoughts on the games tonight. Should be some good games tonight. If you have some thoughts, leave them in the comments. If you want to like the video, I appreciate that. Hit the like button. Shows the video to other people on the website. If you want to subscribe to see my coverage going forward, I plan on doing an upload daily, at least one upload daily. Probably going to be like this for the playoffs, unless it's like a topical video I do, like the one I did the other day with the Bruins goalie rotation. 10-minute video. Go check that out. You can see my thoughts going into that was after game 1, before game 2, where I basically gave my opinions on why I thought the Bruins should ride Jeremy Swayman. The Bruins didn't do that. They lost. I think the Bruins would have benefited from having Swayman in game 2. Might have not changed the result, but it might have changed the result. But those are the type of videos you can expect on my channel. And again, thank you for watching if you've gone to this point. Enjoy the hockey, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, guys.